What do you do when you want to enter a new market that is already dominated by another competitor? How can you ensure success? While there is truly no surefire way to guarantee success, there are great examples to learn important lessons from. In the prior episode, we took a look at the Nexus 7, which brought the competition to the iPad, a revolutionary category-defining device at the time. The Nexus 7 did this with a slightly different form factor and a surprising amount of bang for the buck. Other brands are so strong, having such a high value, that if they expand their business to a new area, their name alone will carry the new product. As Maury Ballstein said, quote, Mugatu, or we could say Apple, could take a crap, wrap it in tinfoil, and put a couple fish hooks on it and sell it to Queen Elizabeth as earrings. Cynicism aside, sometimes it is because of the brand's experience and expertise that they're able to pull off expansions into new markets. And sometimes these expansions are not such a stretch. Sony in particular has had their hands on everything. Some of it doesn't make sense, like insurance. But some of it fits perfectly within their pedigree. Today's item is such an object. Design of Things 15, Sony PlayStation Portable. This fellow is a member of the PlayStation family, a gaming family tree with a long and storied history. While Sony's foray into gaming doesn't go back as far as Nintendo or Sega, the first PlayStation, released in 1994 in Japan, or 1995 in the rest of the world, made a big impact by signaling a switch to 3D models. Looking at this now, yeah, it looks out of date, but this was revolutionary at the time. The successor, the PS2, would go on to become the best-selling console of all time. So an expansion to portable gaming using the established brand name isn't much of a stretch. That's where this guy came in 2004. So how did Sony do on their first foray into portable gaming? A market that was dominated by the Game Boy series. Quite well, actually. This little guy was somewhere between the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 in power, but brought a console experience into the portable realm. Let's take a closer look. A quick note before we begin. This one right here is the third revision of the PSP, released in 2008, making it perhaps the most refined version of the original. The PSP is all plastic, but has a heft and weight to it that makes it feel really solid. The D-pad is a really interesting design, with clear separation between the four directions. It is quite large and works well with the thumb resting in the center, where it naturally falls due to the open space between the directions. The buttons are transparent, creating a natural pattern of highlights and shadows that give the buttons a crystalline, futuristic feel, and provide a nice accent to the body of the device. The little hole here is for front-facing stereo speakers. Now, compared to the D-pad, which is luxurious in size and design, this little joystick is the complete opposite. This is designed to keep the profile of the device thin while allowing for more refined analog input. The surface is textured to help your thumb stick to it while also indicating its presence. This style of joystick would be adopted by Nintendo on the 3DS as well. It's a bit awkward in placing and execution, but it does the job. More recent consoles like the Nintendo Switch have moved away from this flat-to-device design in favor of more traditional protruding joysticks. Next to the joystick, we have two indicators, one to show the device is reading the memory stick, and the second to show if Wi-Fi is on. On the subject of Wi-Fi, Going to the top, there is a physical slider to toggle it. Moving along the bottom edge, there is the PlayStation Home button, volume keys, an interesting placement, a hole for a microphone, the PSP branding, in which we can see the roots of the modern PS5 logo. Then there are a couple mysterious buttons. A display button for changing the brightness of the display, also allowing for a long press to change to a video output mode, and a sound button, which is really bizarre. Pressing this button normally changes between equalizer settings. What? Pretty insane feature. You won't find a button for this on really anything else. A long press of this button also allows for muting the sound. The inclusion of all these features shows that the PSP was not just a game player, but rather a multimedia consumption machine. The right side has the iconic selection of PlayStation buttons. Note the size of these, quite large and comfortable. Nice travel and feel. This was improved throughout revisions of the PSP. The buttons continue the crystalline theme again, capturing light and shadows. Interesting detail. The diameter of the circle here is smaller than the left side around the D-pad. My guess is that they tested it and it didn't look right if the circular buttons were enclosed. However, on the follow-up to the PSP, the PS Vita, the circles are symmetrical and are the same size. An interesting little detail. The R and L buttons here on the top are also interesting, using the clear plastic theme. It's a unified, unique design, making the device instantly iconic and recognizable. The white color I have here leans even further into the aesthetic by having this plastic with sparkle metallic bits in it. The sides have this metallic band surrounding them, with some more buttons, including the power switch, barrel charging port, headphone jack, and around the top, mini USB that can also be used for charging or data transfer. Flanking the USB port, you can see contact points for another charging method, a dock. There is also an area to put in a memory stick on the side. Finally, to the rear is an easily accessible panel to the battery. The battery could be swapped out for a higher capacity version. Rare to see an upgrade of this type. Finally, the UMD, or Universal Media Disc, the initial way games were installed. It opens with a satisfying click sound. The UMD is interesting, basically a refined MD or mini disc, very similar in style and operation. Disregarding the Blu-ray, it's one of the final new physical media types. Sony envisioned it as more than games. Movies and even albums were released on this format. However, the final major iteration of the PSP, the PSP Go, would drop these in favor of only digital downloads. The screen itself was exceptional for the time. A 4.3-inch beautiful color display. The software is pretty modern as well. It's still fast, intuitive, and responsive, even over a decade later. The cross-menu system continues to influence the PlayStation line of devices. Again, a huge number of features are built in. A browser, media player, comic reader, even Skype is here. The only modern portable console, the Nintendo Switch, doesn't even have close to the number of functions. Truly, as people constantly point out on Reddit, the PSP was ahead of its time. Its successor, the Vita, is fascinating as well, but we'll save that for a later episode of Design of Things.